Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem. This is a postmortem of my Blitz game number 221. I was white here, kicked off with e4. There, and my opponent played c5, and we get into a main line here. Let's put on the opening book. Knight c6 is one of the top two choices here, and it's a flexible move after d4. And exchange, I take. He could play e5 immediately. It would be the Kalashnikov, but he chose knight f6, the most popular move here, knight c3, and now e5 here would be the Sveshnikov, but he played d6. So I play this same setup. This is the classical Sicilian. I just normally play d6 on the third move. So I take out some of those transposition possibilities, but I've never played those other lines. I've never played the Sveshnikov, so I just go straight for the classical. And so anyway, I'm on the opposite side this time, the white side of the classical. So I play the line that causes me the most trouble, which is the bishop g5 line, which if you see from the opening book is the top choice here. And sometimes this leads to doubling of pawns on the king side, although it didn't happen in this game. So let's see how it happened. Anyway, it's always interesting to examine one of the positions you play from the opposite side. So it was the intent of this bishop g5 move in a way to provoke this pawn move e6, because otherwise you're sort of threatening to take this knight and mess up the pawns over here. So after e6, if you take the knight, the queen takes back, and black is fine. So normally you just take this opportunity to increase the pressure on the d-pawn, because the move e6 weakened the d-pawn. And after bishop e7, I wonder if it's okay to take right away. Probably not, because you need more pressure on this. You need more pressure on the d-pawn before it makes sense to exchange and pull the bishop away. Okay, so castle queen side, and then the moves here for black are castles, knight takes d4, or a6, which my opponent played. And a6 is a pretty good move, I think. It just keeps the knight out of this b5 square, which would increase pressure on d6 there. So see the advantage? Yeah, so maybe these other moves are a little bit stronger. Knight takes d4 or castles. Okay, and then f4 appears to be a main move here. I was a little bit improvising since I don't usually play the white side of this. I wasn't quite sure what the main ideas were. But it looks like instead of that, I could go ahead and play bishop takes f6 right here. So maybe this is the point in time to play it. If he takes with the bishop, then knight takes c6, and queen takes d6. Yeah, so you can pick up a pawn that way and get some advantage. So that's why it's typically bishop takes f6 is typically answered with let's see. Let's go to the variation. Bishop takes f6. Back to the opening book. It's typically answered with g takes f6. And and this is the structure I was talking about you sometimes get into with the classical Sicilian. It's a little bit tricky to play, but you have all these pawns in the center, so maybe the king just stays in the center and you don't need the castle at all. And you can put the rook on an open file, and the play would continue. Still slightly advantageous for for white, but black does have the bishop pair and maybe some long-term chances if he can get those pieces activated. So the play might continue. King b1, just getting the king to safety, and a lot of choices. Bishop d7, queen b6, rook b8. Okay, so let's back up to the game. Yeah, he played a6 here, and I played f4 in the game instead of playing bishop takes f6, but I think that's probably something to try. So f4, and that just protects the bishop and maybe threatens the move e5 at some point. So he went ahead and took the knight here. Oh, let's back up. There's one other point I wanted to make here, is that instead of the move bishop e7, sometimes bishop d7 is played to avoid this problem with the the pawn, but maybe it's not so good in this situation. I guess if you're going to play bishop d7, maybe you play a6 first. Let's take a look at this variation. a6, castle's queenside, and bishop d7. Okay, so yeah, that's the line I'm most familiar with black. And so you leave this bishop back here so that on the exchange you can take with the queen, and the bishop is still protecting the pawn on d6. So that's the way I usually play it on the black side. Okay, let's go back to the game. In the game, he went e6, I went queen d2, he went bishop e7 here, rather than a6 and bishop d7. So I castle. He went to a6 now, and then I went f4. And we're still in the opening book, so let's leave that on. He played knight takes, queen takes, and then he castled here. I think b5 maybe is a little more accurate. The engine likes h6, b5, but castling is a move too. And now I played bishop c4, which is in the book, but it's not such a great move according to the chess engine. It looks like bishop e2 is the way to go. So after bishop c4, he could play b5 here and get some kind of edge, it looks like. But he didn't. He went queen a5, and now we're out of the opening book. So let's just go to the notation page. Here's my chance, though, and I thought about playing e5. It's always an idea in this position for this move, because it's kind of a double attack. It hits the knight, hits the pawn. The knight is sort of pinned, but if you see the way the line goes, he takes, I take. He can play the move knight d5 to support the bishop. And so I wasn't sure, after this trade, is white any better off? But if you look at this, there's a difference in the quality of the bishops. His bishop is sort of hemmed in, and my bishop is looking pretty good. Although he's going to play the move b5 and kick my bishop and give his bishop a square here on b7. And I have a little more space. So maybe there's a slight edge to white in this position. So that e5 idea is a way to play. I decided instead to take on f6 here, and I missed something. I thought he was going to have to take with the pawn because the d-pawn was hanging, but he gets a counterattack on my knight here. So I'm sort of forced into this exchange, which is good for black. He trades bishops and gets a pawn back, so he's not down any material, and he's messed up my king position. So that was not a good decision by me. That bishop takes f6, but it's not a winning advantage. It's just a slight edge for black, and play continues. So I need to do something about my bishop here. I just drop it back to b3. He goes b5, and I look around. Oh, yeah, the engine likes queen d4. Yeah, I thought the position of the king would be a little bit safer if I got the queens off. With all these holes around the king, it's a bit dangerous there. And yeah, the chess engine prefers saving the queen with a move, keeping the queens on with a move like queen c7. But my opponent decided to trade, and now we're in pretty much an even position, and it stays this way for a while. So just do some developing moves. I'm hoping to get some edge because I've got my pawns on dark squares, but not all of them are on dark squares. There's a couple on light squares that are targets, and it's a bit tricky to unravel. I can't push e5 because I will drop g2 here, so I have to be careful. So I play my rook over, just grab the open file, and I'm preparing to play g3 and e5. My opponent goes a5, and of course I have to be aware of the threat of trapping my bishop. So I go c3 here, and to give my bishop an outlet. He attacks the pawn. I go king b2 to support it, and then he goes a4, hitting my bishop. I retreat. So you see, all these are pretty logical moves and keep us in the range of even. And now I finally get my, he plays g6 here, and now I finally have the chance to play g3 here. The engine likes pushing c4 right away. It's interesting. I didn't really think of that. So he went rook c7, planning to double on the c file, and I went e5. I didn't really pay enough attention to this doubling plan, but actually this is pretty good. If I were to drop back my rook here, for example, I thought he could play this move. Oh, well, I still have the idea of rook d8 check. The point is I can't take the pawn because of that. But let's see, after b4, I don't have to take. I can throw in rook d8 check, or I could play c4. c4 seems to give up a pawn. But I guess if he takes a pawn right away, I'll grab the a pawn. So he plays check here, and then I move my king forward. Anyway, rather than go in for that, I said, well, if I just get rid of one pair of rooks in this position, then I won't have to worry about this pressure on the c file. So I went for that. And so he takes, pretty forced take, and king g7. And yeah, still an even game, basically. I went bishop d3 here, trying to target his pawns. And black played here, rook c5. Starting to get into actually a little bit of trouble here with these rook moves. I went rook b8 to attack his bishop. Cancel that, rook b8 to attack his bishop. He defends the pawn, so it's attacked twice, defended twice. And I went up with rook b6. I was even thinking of taking the bishop. Rook takes, and then bishop takes here. And then maybe I would get a second pawn, but I guess not. After rook takes, bishop takes, his rook could come to, let's see, rook takes, bishop takes. Actually, yeah, his rook can't get to the square c4, so I do pick up both pawns. So that was an idea in this position, get up 2 pawns for the exchange and try and win with one of these extra pawns over here. But he got away from that with rook d5, and now here's a great chance I had to win the game, and actually saw this move, bishop e4. I didn't play it. I saw this move and I said, but what happens if he plays rook d2 check? So after rook d2 check, yeah, there's only one move here that continues to win for white, but that's it. All you need is one move. You just got to find it. King c1 attacking the rook. So he's got 2 pieces hanging. He's got the rook hanging and the bishop hanging. So he can save one of them, or he can grab a pawn. Looks like grabbing the a pawn is best. But he can't save both of his pieces, so I end up a piece up. So I just didn't calculate that well enough. So I saw I could play the bishop here, and I saw that he had the check. And I should have noticed that I could also play king c1 and leave him with 2 pieces hanging. Anyway, so I missed that and played king c2. He goes, retreats his bishop, and now I advance my c-pawn, rook c5. And yeah, this is where he starts to get into trouble again with the rook. King c3, he takes, I take, and he plays h5, and I go a3, so I can step up. I want to fix this pawn on a light square, and I'm planning to step up here and maybe oppose his bishop and try and grab the pawn. But and this move here, bishop c6, was a blunder because it traps his rook. His rook here has no squares to go to. If you look at, they're all covered by, well, these 2 are covered by the queen, and after I play king to b4, the king covers these squares. So the rook has no square to go to. So he has to give up the exchange here. And I am winning from this point on in the game. Played bishop e8. Just retreating, and I have a very simple, cancel that. I have a simple winning strategy, which is just to trade my rook for a bishop and pawn, and then win with the extra pawn. He started bringing his king over, but he can't get here in time to stop this. So take. And king d7, yeah, he's still trying, but this is pretty hopeless. King b5, king c7. This a4 move was a wasted move. I should have just kept moving in this direction because he's got to come all the way back here to grab this pawn. But goes to there, and then I realize, oh yes, I just come over here and grab these pawns. And if you count it out, it's 1, 2, 3 to grab the pawn, and in those 3 moves, I'll go 1, 2, 3, and to be taking his pawn, and just be in position to grab this one and queen my e-pawn. So it's a pretty easy win from this point. So he resigned. That's how it ended. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.